Yeah, so the structure here and the feed pad obviously is a huge investment to our farm. But when we look at the last 2 years, last 2 seasons, we've had some really wet years where we haven't been able to feed our cows, and we did actually 93,000 milk solids less each year on average than our record. And so we can put that down to not being able to feed cows properly. And as a farmer, we love our cows, and feeding cows is really important to us. So when you looked at the milk returns that this could give us by feeding cows better, it was a no-brainer. But then we're also going to get other benefits which are hard to sort of put into numbers, such as sort of animal welfare, keeping cows dry and warm. Feed utilisation, that's a big one. And we reckon on feed utilisation alone, we're probably going to get payback in about 7 years. Matt Honeyset, my wife and myself farm 1,300 cows here in the South Wairarapa. We've been here 11 seasons and we're equity partners on this farm. The main reason for putting in the feed pad was for saving 2 things: feed utilisation, but primarily getting intake into cows in those wetter months. We were really struggling in spring times when it was wet conditions to feed our cows properly, and that showed in milk production. So the feed pads enabled us to feed consistent feed levels to the cows. It was really important for us, if we were going to put a feed pad down, to put a roof on it as well, just for animal welfare, shelter, also reduce effluent, the amount of effluent we get. So we started using the shed on 12th of July this year, so that was just when our heifers started calving. And we've used it the whole way through springtime. We've just stopped using it the last couple of weeks as grass has taken off. We're still primarily trying to be a grass-driven farm and not turning into a high-input farm, but the shed's enabled us to feed good amounts of silage and fodder through that spring period when ground conditions were really wet. We noticed immediately a huge change in feed efficiency. So we haven't actually crunched the numbers yet, but we're sitting around about that 40% mark. It was noticeable in the wagon load rather than per kilo here. Traditionally, we've fed out to our springing cows and milking cows in that springtime when we're short of feed in the paddock, and now obviously we feed that in the shed, and that's where we've seen some huge savings in quantity fed out. Aztech were real helpful in the design stage of this and all the way through the build phase. Communication was good and we're really happy with the end product that we've got. We went with Aztech because of their experience. We had local farmers also use them that recommended, and we also were not looking for a poly tunnel or a more sort of temporary structure. We were looking for a permanent structure that would last. Would recommend Aztech, and the whole process was pretty smooth, always at the end of the phone and easy to deal with. We have, over the years, over the past sort of 11 seasons, we've been toying up with whether we'd put a feed pad in or not. It only became sort of a serious consideration the last 12, 18 months. We have tried other things with in-shed feeding, but at the end of the day, we couldn't get the amount of dry matter into the cows through the shed. And so a feed pad was important for us, or for the next step to take us to the next level. A feed pan versus compost barn. This is the solution to our problem, which was feeding cows and being able to feed cows fully through wetter months. We're quite a heavy wet farm, so we were always looking for a feed pad. We have looked at the compost idea as well, but that's got a sort of a different solution to a different problem. So at this stage, we haven't considered building one. So heifers start calving officially on the 20th of July, cows 25th of July. We have a relatively compact calving. Usually by the first week of September, we've only got 10 or 20 cows left to go. So it's 1,300 cows in about 7 weeks, and it's pretty intense, but real great team on farm to help us with it. Yeah, so the structure here and the feed pad obviously is a huge investment to our farm. But when we look at the last 2 years, last 2 seasons, we've had some really wet years where we haven't been able to feed our cows, and we did actually 93,000 milk solids less each year on average than our record. And so we can put that down to not being able to feed cows properly. And as a farmer, we love our cows, and feeding cows is really important to us. So when you looked at the milk returns that this could give us by feeding cows better, it was a no-brainer. But then we're also going to get other benefits which are hard to sort of put into numbers, such as sort of animal welfare, keeping cows dry and warm. Feed utilisation, that's a big one. And we reckon on feed utilisation alone, we're probably going to get payback in about 7 years. The barn was financed through additional loan from the bank, and that was quite easy to get the bank across the line. So historically we do between 460 and 480 kilos of milk solids per cow from our Kiwi cross cows, and with this shed we're hoping to increase production maybe closer to that 500, but what we're really hoping to see is just better utilisation of our feed and better condition on our cows. So as the barn was completed in winter, the cows came into the shed in dribs and drabs as they came back from our wintering blocks. It would take, the first time we brought cows in here, it took a good couple of minutes to get them across the line and get in, but once we had the core group that used to come in here, it was just follow my leader, and now the cows come here pre-morning milking and they're on back latches, so they just make their own way to the shed, and most of them just jog here because they know there's a feed waiting. So through the springtime, we had milking cows come in here before morning milking. During the day, we had colostrums and Springer cows in here during the day, and at night it's generally empty, ready for the milkers to come in the next day. If it's really wet or bad conditions, we've got a mean southerly coming through, then we might bring the milkers in here late at night for a feed, or after afternoon milking for an extra feed. We never initially considered the summer benefits of having a roof. When we went around some other farmers that already had these before we did the build, a lot of them commented on the summer benefit. We haven't justified what that will look like, and as we haven't been through a summer, we haven't seen that, but we are planning to use this in the summer for a shade in the afternoons. I think at the end of the day, whether you go for a steel roof or a more plastic roof, it's up to sort of cost and what you feel fits your system. For us, it was important to have something that would last long. We have a strong wind run, so we wanted something that was going to be here in 20 years' time, and yeah, that's why we've gone with the Aztech roof. Now, I'd just like to probably actually take this opportunity to thank the whole Aztech team. Thanks for all the team that's behind the scenes that have done the design work and fixed up all the questions and answers that I've had for people. So thank you very much.